Greetings all you shrews and frews and stablesmen, Jake S. Weissman here. I'm not saying that the things that I said were wrong. I'm just thinking about what were Warner Brothers' actual motives behind this kind of a bombshell story. You guys, 2 episodes ago I was talking about all the controversy WB was in. No one's talking about that now. I thought it would be important to dive into that just a little bit today. Instead of, congratulations WB, it's also like, interesting move WB, and I think I see you. So today, we're going to play a little bit of cleanup. First and foremost,
I was wrong.
Netflix has more than one Oscar. Laura Dern is just the only acting Oscar they've ever won. I immediately, when I posted it, I was like, Cuarón has won for Roma. So Netflix has won a couple. It just is nothing compared to what is about to happen. Who knows what the Oscars are going to look like, but it's going to be owned by the streamers this year. War with Grandpa is not going to win any Oscars. You know what? I haven't seen War with Grandpa. Maybe I shouldn't have said that.
So now that that's taken care of.
Update on the 007 thing. What I've learned is they did not want $600 million for 007 No Time to Die. And by they, we're talking about MGM and apparently the Broccolis. Now, the Broccolis have been producing the Bond movie since the very beginning. And as film producers, it's kind of their one IP that they have. So they treat it like the gold that it is. I don't know the validity of this, but I've read that there is some sort of not seeing of eye to eye between MGM and the Broccolis, which makes this No Time to Die stuff make a little bit more sense in my head. They didn't want $600 million outright. They wanted $800 million outright. And $800 million sounds so much more like $1 billion than 600. And if I'm going to spend $1 billion
With a B.
on one movie, how are you going to make that back? I know that $1 billion is a drop in the bucket for Mr. Bezos.
Personally.
But as a company, how can you justify $1 billion investment in one movie like that? It doesn't sound right. It sounds a little greedy. It sounds like the Broccolis are really trying to wring this out. And if they've been making the movies since the 60s, then they probably don't have a very futuristic or crazy evolved way of looking at the film industry right now. Lord knows what they think about streaming. They're probably like, yeah, it's probably that simple for them. Give me a bill. I'll give you the movie. I was wondering before.
Oh, news cycles move quicker than this. There's no way that they just missed their window.
And I honestly think that they just missed their window. I think that they didn't change the news cycle. They had a gorgeous opportunity to drop this thing in November. And for whatever reason on the inside, I bet you if it was just MGM, we would have gotten this movie in November. But I have a feeling that the two are fighting, and whoever has more stake in the IP is the one holding out, and they're going to end up dropping Bond on the roulette table in March or April or May or June or July or August, because now Warner Brothers has this whole new thing. So MGM is now having to contend with this whole other evolution, while allegedly the Broccolis still just think, pound for pound, dollar for dollar. So right now, honestly, I can't have a prediction for James Bond 007 No Time to Die, because it sounds like there are a couple of different motives and a couple of different they gotta get their shit together. Someone has been trying to set this up, and something just kind of rings of dissonance, as far as I can tell. So, I'll keep you posted. Hopefully we'll get it for Christmas. Hopefully I'm just wrong. Hopefully I've been wrong this whole time. And
We'll just get a sweet Smelling James Bond Christmas 2020.
On your local Netflix? Your local Prime? The other thing is that they just dropped all of the James Bond movies on YouTube for free with ads, I believe. So I don't know what the business deal was behind that. You can watch these movies pretty much on every platform. So I don't know where they would debut this new one other than the theater, because it's nothing specialized right now. I don't know if MGM is just like, man, YouTube will give me this much money to show all of these movies for free with advertising. Yeah, I'll take that sum. That's all I can really figure, unless there's no way in hell they will drop No Time to Die on YouTube Red. Because if I'm wrong about that and they do something that ridiculous, people won't know what to do. I won't. I mean, then the wind is just blowing in every single direction. Who knows what that would mean? So much so that I hadn't thought about it until I just said it out loud. I think that's almost a ridiculous bet.
That's the longest shot. I don't think they're dropping. I mean, that's
silly. There's been some response, obviously, some immediate response to the WB HBOMax bombshell news. I haven't read too much of it because it all sounds like sour grapes from what I can read. It's a lot of theaters being like,
okay, but when we open, we're not going to be very nice to you. So
it just sounds like theaters are going to keep on keeping on. I am not the one who's coined that theaters are anti-consumer, but I definitely, if that's the case, I have no other choice but to believe that it's anti-consumer. Consumers have the option to see the movie on the big screen or see the movie streaming. The theater owners keep playing the same old moldy tactics.
You'll be sorry.
Oh, when all this blows over, you'll really have to rethink, ooh.
Like I said, no one's cheering this. It's not dying. It's growing pains. We're evolving. We're seeing how this goes. If you go to the theater, movies will keep going to the theater. Just because the window is changing, I mean, we have exponentially more content now. It's a conversation to continue. I don't want to go further into it because it is a lot. Everyone has something to say about this. This is very, very, very big news. So while everyone's talking about that, I want to talk about how Warner Brothers kind of wagged the dog on this entire situation. We're not talking about the controversy that we were talking about literally 2 weeks ago. I don't think that's an accident. I don't think that is serendipitous. Last episode, I was talking about the release pile-on. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Tenet, Wonder Woman. The news led to thinking about that naturally as the closest next step, that I didn't even think about how terrible the controversy has been for Warner Brothers in 2020, much less that I talked about it in a video, right before the time before that? What controversy? We're talking about Johnny Depp in Fantastic Beasts. We're talking about Amber Heard in Aquaman. We're talking about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard and this whole thing that's going on that there's a very, very strong feelings toward and very strong feelings about. And as long as Warner Brothers is kind of in the middle of that, because Fantastic Beasts and Aquaman are both Warner Brothers just is unfortunately right in the middle of all of that. Ezra Miller beat the shit out of a stranger. Ezra Miller is the Flash. And we're talking about, there was a lot of Flash news this year. Oh, we're going to get Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton and all the old Batmen to be in the Flash. They're loading up the Flash with a bunch of people that we love so that we can kind of forget that Ezra Miller is literally carrying this movie, and Ezra Miller beat the shit out of a stranger recently. WB is in the middle of all of that. It seemed like all of these articles, I don't believe any of it. People who are excited for Michael Keaton to come back, like, that'll be in talks for a minute, because I think it's all respectfully dog shit. I think that Warner Brothers all year has been throwing stuff at us to try and get us to stop talking about the problematic talent that they have. J.K. Rowling, I'm not touching that with a 39.5-foot pole. Now there's the witches controversy, which seems to have died down, but the way the witches were portrayed really upset some people in the disabilities community. Warner Brothers is behind that. Add to that the Tenet bullshit. Add to that the Wonder Woman bullshit. It's like 10 pins. And the news a couple days ago just...
Strike.
How do you get people to not talk about none of that?
We're going to release our entire 2021 schedule for the entire year on a streaming app simultaneously with movie theaters.
Undeniably huge news. And unfortunately, the most egregious of all of this is all of the Justice League shit that's come to light. And Ray Fisher fighting against Warner Brothers about how terrible Joss Whedon has been. And I don't know all of the details, but it doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound like Warner Brothers was in the right. It doesn't sound like Joss Whedon was in the right. And when I saw Justice League, Ray Fisher was pared down. Ray Fisher claims that Warner Brothers issued reshoots based on his race. And that's a big deal. And I understand that there's a big group of people saying, come on, you're just playing the card. Forget about it. I don't think he is. I think that things are worse than people want to give it credit for in terms of racism, in terms of sexism, in terms of all of it. And it's sexier to talk about new streaming strategies than how you allegedly reshot your movie to have less black people so that it would play better overseas. Unfortunately, it's not just Warner Brothers. Universal just had a lawsuit. Faizon Love, a comedian that I really enjoy, you know him from Elf, was in a lot of Jon Favreau movies, was in another Jon Favreau film called Couples Retreat, and Universal removed him and his co-star and their names off of the poster for international release, or at least an Asian release, I believe. They just are off the poster. The only people of color that were on that poster for Couples Retreat are just gone. Inexplicably. No one has any good answers for it. Add to that Disney and the John Boyega issues. He wasn't taken off the poster, but he was made considerably smaller on the poster. For the same reason, for the same type international release. And I'll make a disclaimer, I need to do more research in everything that I'm about to talk about. This is all stuff that I believe. One of the artists that greatly influenced me is a comedian named PATRICE O'Neill, who has a quote. He once said, "It's not a conspiracy, it's just some shit I believe." And he always spoke truth. I wish he was still alive to kind of speak truth to right now. He would have had some weird, cutthroat shit to say for 2020. So I will go ahead and say that this isn't a conspiracy theory. I'm not accusing anyone of anything. This is just some shit I believe. This is stuff that I've been seeing for a long time now, working at a movie theater for however many years I used to work at it. There's something up. There's something up with the way African American actors are treated for overseas releases. I think there's a reason why studios want to be congratulated for having the first black princess, or having a cool black super spy, or having this awesome jazz musician, only to realize that 2/3 of those movies, that's movies about a frog. That movie is about a pigeon, and that movie's about a white puff of smoke. What's up? No one can give me a really good answer, and I have thoughts about it. I have very strong thoughts about it, and I think it all plays together. And WB is not innocent. I think the stuff that Ray Fisher is saying is probably in the same vein as what John Boyega is saying, what Faison Love is saying. And Dave Chappelle just released a baller 20-minute set on his Instagram talking about how HBO f***ed him over and why we should all boycott Chappelle's show right now. I highly suggest you watch that. I'll try and find a link. It's all the same monster. So, yes, congratulations, WB, but I f***ing see you. There may be some deeper issues going on. And the bombshell news was a killer way to get people to start talking about something else. The song of the episode is Skin Shape's Don't Call My Name. Put on your headphones, turn it up loud. It is a stony, nice bit of jam. The book, I gotta get my copy back. Someone stole it from me, but it's called The Conversations with Walter Murch by
Michael Ondaatje.
He's the guy who wrote The English Patient, which Walter Murch edited the film of. Talk about influences. Wow. I'm going to sit here, I'm going to read to you what Walter Murch has done and why you should listen to the conversations and the things that this dude has to say. Sound editor and writer of THX 1138. Sound editor on The Godfather. Sound editor on American Graffiti. Editor and sound editor on The Conversation. Editor and sound editor on Apocalypse Now. Writer and director of Return to Oz. He did the sound editing and film editing for Ghost and Godfather Part 3 in the same year.
First Night, English Patient, Mr. Ripley, Cold Mountain, Jarhead. It goes on and on.
Luke, he edited Tomorrowland, dude. This guy is a living legend. I've recommended another one of his books in one of the earliest episodes. This one, you get to know the artist, get to know his history, get to know his thought process behind everything that he did. He's brilliant. I love this book. The movie is a journey through space. It's actually 3 movies. Hulu has Sunshine and Aniara on it right now. Sunshine is an American film. Aniara is Swedish. They're both bleak sci-fi flicks, but they lean toward 2001 Solaris type sci-fi as opposed to Star Wars or Star Trek. I love it. It just is real psychological. It gets right to the unexplainable stuff about space that I really, really like. I love the vast mystery of it all. Aniara is brutal. Get ready for a journey. It takes you through decades and further. Sunshine is a story about a group of people. The sun is going out and they have a big bomb the size of Manhattan on their ship and they're going to drive it right into the sun and restart the sun. It sounds goofy, Armageddon-y, but Danny Boyle did it, who did Trainspotting and Slumdog Millionaire and all those other movies. So it's really interesting, and I hadn't seen it since the theater, and it actually holds up really, really well. I still like that movie. Aniara is Swedish. It's based on an epic sci-fi space opera poem from the mid-50s. I've tried to read this poem and I can't. I have a hard time. It's long and it's not. It's like the Swedish rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. It's a story about a ship that's supposed to take 3 weeks to go from Earth, which is dying, to Mars. A week into their trip, there's space debris. They have to veer and jettison all of their gas. And so the rest of the movie is them floating through space. I really enjoyed watching them. It's been fun taking this journey, but I do suggest a palate cleanser. I love this movie. Don't hate me. It's a crowd pleaser. If you want to see a story about a guy solving problems, getting lost, and then...
Does he get saved?
I don't know.
The Martian's a lot of fun. It has a sense of humor. Matt Damon kills it. I really like that movie. I can watch it all the time. It's really easy for me to watch. After watching detrimental existential sci-fi films, The Martian is a lot of fun. And Sean Bean lives at the end, so Shout outs to Dave Hoffman, love you, buddy. Del Harvey, Tom Hush, and Stacy Ganillo. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate you reaching out. Let me know what you want me to talk about. Bones, I love you. Join me on Twitch, watch my features on Amazon Prime, watch my videos on YouTube, and I will see you
in the future.
Michael on dot here. Michael on dot here. Michael on dot here. Michael on dot here. Michael on dot